If you have been speaking Florence Shinn affirmations for months or even years and the money still has not come, I need you to understand something tonight that almost nobody in this entire space will tell you. The problem was never your affirmation. The problem was never your faith. The problem was never that you did not want it badly enough. The problem is something so simple and so overlooked that once you see it, you will not be able to unsee it. And it explains every affirmation that ever dissolved before it reached you. You have been speaking the word at night and then canceling it for the next 23 hours. And tonight, I am going to show you exactly how that cancellation works, the precise mechanism Florence understood that breaks this loop, and the one fix that finally lets the abundance you keep speaking actually arrive. So let us start with the premise, as stated in Proverbs 6:2. Thou art snared with the words of thy mouth. Thou art taken with the words of thy mouth. Notice what this verse is actually saying. It is one of the most overlooked verses in all of Scripture for manifestation. It says you are snared. You are trapped. You are caught by the words of your own mouth. Most people only ever think about the power of their words to create good, but this verse warns about the equal and opposite power. The words of your mouth are creating constantly, and if most of your words speak lack, then most of what you establish is lack. Florence Scovel Shinn understood this with total clarity, that the spoken word works in both directions with equal force. Every word of abundance establishes abundance, and every word of lack establishes lack. And the net result of your life is the sum of all the words you speak. This is what I want to discuss with you tonight. Let me give you the correct decree right now before we go further, because you need to feel the contrast between this and what you have been doing all day. So speak it with me, even softly. My word establishes my wealth now. I speak only supply. My word is my wand. Speak it once more and let it settle. My word establishes my wealth now. I speak only supply. My word is my wand. Hold there for a moment. Feel the cleanness of that, the single clear direction of it. Now I want you to hold that feeling while I tell you what has actually been happening to you, because the contrast is the entire lesson. If those words landed for you, scroll down to the comments right now and write I speak only supply. Your comment is the first clean word, and it joins the field of people breaking this exact loop tonight. Now before I give you the 6 pieces, I have to tell you about the fix directly, because it would be dishonest to explain this problem to you and then leave you without the solution. Everything I am about to teach you points to one practical conclusion. You need a fresh, clean decree placed into your consciousness every single morning before the day fills your mouth with lack. And almost nobody can do this consistently on their own. They forget, they get busy, the old habit wins. So I built the exact thing that solves it. A 21-day sequence called the Overflow Covenant, where one short Florence Shinn decree lands in your inbox every single morning at 6. You speak it before your coffee, before the day starts filling your mouth with fear. It takes less than a minute, and it places one clean establishing word into your consciousness before the 23 hours of lack can begin. This is the precise fix for the exact problem this entire video is about. It is $27 one payment, no app to install, no platform to log into, just your inbox at 6 in the morning for 21 mornings. And there is a 30-day full refund, so the risk is entirely mine. The link is in the description. It is called the Overflow Covenant, and if you have spoken affirmations for years and watched them dissolve, this is the thing that finally makes them hold. Now let me give you the first piece, which is the exact mechanism of how your nighttime affirmation gets canceled the next day. Because once you see this clearly, everything changes. Here is what happens. You lie down at night and you speak your beautiful Florence Shinn affirmation. You feel it. You mean it. You fall asleep in the word. And for those few minutes you genuinely establish abundance in your consciousness. But then morning comes. And within the first hour you say, I can't afford that. An hour later you say, money is so tight right now. At lunch you tell a friend, I'm just barely getting by. In the afternoon you check your account and sigh. By evening you say, I don't know how I'm going to make this work. And every single one of those statements is a decree. Every one of them establishes lack with the exact same mechanism that your nighttime affirmation used to establish abundance. So by the time you lie down again, the 23 hours of lack speech have completely overwritten the few minutes of abundance speech. You wake up the next day in the same place, and you blame the affirmation. But the affirmation worked perfectly. It was simply outnumbered 23 hours to a few minutes. It was never a fair fight. And I want you to really sit with how lopsided this fight actually is, because when you see the numbers, it becomes impossible to ignore. Your nighttime affirmation might last 3 minutes, maybe 5 if you are really focused, so call it 5 minutes of abundant speech. Now count the lack. The moment you wake and think, how am I going to manage today? That is the first decree of lack, before your feet even touch the floor. Then the phone, then the news full of scarcity and fear, then the drive where you think I can't afford to fix this car, then the coworker conversation where you say money's tight, then lunch where you skip what you want because of the price and you tell yourself you can't have it, then the afternoon account check and the sigh, then the evening bills and the dread, then the conversation with your partner about what you cannot afford this month. By the time you lie back down, you have spoken and thought lack hundreds of times across 16 waking hours, against 5 minutes of abundance, and then you wonder why the affirmation did not work. It is not that the law ignored you. It is that you spent all day giving the law the opposite instruction, with far more conviction than you gave the affirmation. The law obeyed you perfectly. You simply instructed it toward lack for 16 hours, and toward abundance for 5 minutes, and the law established the dominant instruction. This is not a spiritual failure. It is simple arithmetic, and the moment you understand it as arithmetic, you understand exactly how to fix it. The second piece is why you do not even notice you are doing this. Because this is the part that keeps people trapped for years. The lack speech does not feel like affirmation. It feels like simply describing reality. When you say I can't afford that, it does not feel like you are casting a spell. It feels like you are stating a fact, and that is exactly why it is so dangerous. The abundance affirmation feels like effort, like something you are deliberately doing, but the lack speech feels like neutral observation, like you are just being honest about your situation. But Florence understood that the subconscious does not distinguish between a decree you make deliberately and a description you make casually. Both are words of your mouth. Both establish. The subconscious hears, I can't afford that with the exact same creative force as it hears I decree my abundance. It does not weigh the intention. It simply establishes the word. This means your casual complaints throughout the day are not neutral. They are active decrees of lack, spoken with more conviction than your affirmations, because you actually believe them. The third piece is why the morning is the decisive battleground. Because the order of the words matters as much as the number of them. Whatever you speak first in the morning sets the frequency that the rest of the day operates within. If your first words establish abundance, the day's later lack speech is partially resisted because it contradicts the established morning frequency. But if your first words establish lack, which happens automatically the moment you wake into worry and reach for the phone, then the entire day is built on a foundation of lack. And even an evening affirmation cannot undo a foundation that was set at dawn and reinforced all day. This is why the wealthy and the people who successfully manifest all place their primary practice in the morning. They understand that whoever speaks first wins, and they make absolutely certain that the first words their consciousness hears each day are words of supply, not words of fear. And there is a specific reason the first 30 minutes after waking carry more weight than any other window in the entire day. When you have just woken, your brain is still partly in the slower wave state of sleep. The fully critical analytical mind has not yet booted up. And in this transitional state, your subconscious is wide open, almost as open as it is in the moments before sleep. This means that whatever you speak or think in those first 30 minutes goes almost directly into the subconscious without being filtered. This is why reaching for your phone first thing is so quietly destructive. You are taking the most receptive window of your entire day and filling it with everyone else's fear, the news, the messages, the comparison. The low-grade anxiety of the entire connected world pours directly into your unguarded subconscious and establishes the frequency of your day. The wealthy guard this window fiercely. They do not let the world speak into them first. They speak into themselves first. Their decree is the first content their open subconscious receives, before the world gets its chance. And this single discipline, protecting the first 30 minutes, is one of the most powerful changes you can make. Because it is not just about adding a decree. It is about claiming the most valuable real estate in your day before someone else fills it with lack. The fourth piece is the specific reason a single affirmation cannot overpower a lifetime of lack speech. Because this is the false hope that keeps people cycling. Most people believe that if they could just find the perfect affirmation, or say it with enough feeling, it would finally break through. But the issue was never the quality of the affirmation, it was the ratio. You have likely spoken hundreds of thousands of words of lack across your lifetime. Every worry, every complaint, every fearful description has been a small decree, and these have accumulated into a deeply established frequency of lack. A single affirmation, no matter how perfect, is one word against hundreds of thousands. The only thing that breaks this is changing the ratio, speaking enough words of supply, consistently enough, that they begin to outnumber and overwrite the words of lack. This is not done through intensity, it is done through consistency, a clean decree every morning, returned to throughout the day, until the ratio finally tips, and supply becomes the dominant frequency. And let me explain why 21 days specifically is the span that tips the ratio. Because this is not arbitrary. The lack frequency you carry was built through years of daily repetition. It has become the default setting of your subconscious, and a default that deeply established cannot be overwritten in a day or two. What the research on habit and what Florence observed in her clients both point to is that a new frequency needs roughly 3 weeks of consistent daily reinforcement before it becomes self-sustaining. In the first week, the new decree feels effortful and the old lack speech keeps winning. In the second week, the two frequencies reach rough balance, and you start catching the lack speech before it leaves your mouth. And in the third week, the supply frequency becomes dominant enough that it begins resisting the lack speech automatically. You start to feel a small wrongness when you are about to complain about money. That wrongness is the new frequency asserting itself. By the end of 21 days, the ratio has tipped. Supply has become the default, and the abundance you decree finally has a clean foundation to establish upon, instead of being cancelled the next day. This is exactly why a single morning of decreeing does almost nothing, while 21 consecutive mornings changes everything, and it is exactly why I structured the overflow covenant as 21 mornings, rather than a single download you read once and forget. The transformation is in the daily return, not in the information. The fifth piece is the exact protocol for tipping the ratio, and this is the practical heart of everything. First, you establish the morning decree before anything else. The moment you wake, before the phone, before the worry, you speak your clean decree of supply. This sets the day's foundation. Second, throughout the day you practice catching the lack speech before it leaves your mouth. When you feel yourself about to say, "I can't afford that," you stop, and you either say nothing or you replace it with a neutral truth, like "that is not where I am placing my money right now." You do not have to pretend to be wealthy, you simply have to stop actively decreeing lack. Third, you place a ceiling decree at night, the same clean words spoken before sleep, so the subconscious works on supply through the night. The morning decree opens the day in supply, the daytime catching prevents the ratio from being destroyed, and the night decree seals it. This three-part structure is what finally tips the ratio, and the morning decree is the keystone, because without it, the day has no foundation of supply to protect. The sixth piece is the contrarian truth, that you do not need to speak more affirmations, you need to speak fewer words of lack. And this inverts almost everything the manifestation space teaches. Everyone tells you to add more affirmations, more sessions, more repetitions. But if you are adding abundance affirmations in the morning while still pouring out lack speech all day, you are filling a bucket with a massive hole in the bottom. The fix is not to pour faster, the fix is to close the hole. The single most powerful change most people can make is not speaking one more affirmation, it is ceasing to speak the casual lack that cancels everything else. When you stop decreeing lack throughout the day, even a modest morning decree begins to establish powerfully, because it is no longer being cancelled. The wealthy do not necessarily affirm more than you, they complain less than you. They have simply stopped sabotaging their own decrees with constant casual lack speech. This is the truth almost nobody wants to hear, because it requires watching your own mouth all day rather than just adding a pleasant morning ritual. And I want to give you a specific exercise that will prove this to you faster than anything else. For one full day, simply count every time you speak or think a word of lack. You do not even have to change anything yet. Just count. Count every "I can't afford," every "it's too expensive," every "money's tight," every "how will I manage," every "I'm broke." Just keep a tally in your phone, and at the end of the day look at the number. Most people who do this are genuinely shocked. They find they have decreed lack 40, 50, 60 times in a single day without once noticing, and then they understand viscerally why their 5-minute morning affirmation never stood a chance. The lack speech is so constant and so automatic that it has become invisible, like background noise you stopped hearing years ago, and you cannot stop a habit you cannot see. The counting makes it visible, and visibility is the first step to breaking it. Once you have seen your own number, you can never again pretend the affirmation was the problem. The affirmation was fine. You were simply drowning it in casual lack all day long. Here is the whole picture. Your Florence Shinn affirmations did not fail you. They were cancelled by the 23 hours of lack speech that followed them every single day. The affirmation worked exactly as designed for the few minutes you spoke it, and then your own casual words of fear overrode it before it could establish. The fix is not a better affirmation. It is a clean decree, placed first thing every morning, before the day fills your mouth, returned to throughout the day, and sealed at night, until the ratio of supply to lack finally tips and abundance becomes your established frequency. This is the loop that has been trapping you, and now you can see it clearly enough to break it. Before we close, I have to be direct with you. You have now seen exactly why your affirmations stopped working, but seeing it is not the same as fixing it. The fix requires a clean decree every single morning without fail, and if you try to do this from memory, you will forget within 3 days. The old habit is too strong. This is the entire reason I built the Overflow Covenant, to place a fresh Florence Shinn decree in your inbox every morning for 21 days, so the daily practice is handled for you, so you cannot forget, so the ratio actually tips, and the loop actually breaks. 21 mornings, 1 clean decree at dawn, $27, 30-day full refund. The link is in the description. This is not another affirmation to add to the pile. It is the daily structure that finally makes your affirmations hold. So speak the clean decree with me one final time before you go. My word establishes my wealth now. I speak only supply. My word is my wand. Hold that, and tomorrow morning before the day can fill your mouth with lack, let this be the first word you speak, and then let the first decree of the covenant reach you, and finally break the loop that has been canceling your wealth for years.